On a crisp October night, the full moon cast a silvery glow over Maplewood, a quiet town nestled near Glacier National Park. Its light streamed through the windows of the Peterson family's home at 27 Pine Street, where Cole, an adorable black kitten, lay curled in a woven basket. Born 2 months earlier in the family's garage, Cole was the sole survivor of a litter of 4. His mother, a stray with sleek black fur, had vanished after giving birth, leaving Cole in the care of the Petersons. 10-year-old Molly, with her fiery red hair, had poured her heart into nurturing Cole, forging a deep bond with the tiny creature. Maplewood was a town steeped in the rhythm of nature, its streets lined with towering pines and quaint homes that glowed warmly against the autumn chill. The air carried the scent of fallen leaves and wood smoke, and the distant peaks of Glacier National Park loomed like silent sentinels. For the Petersons, life in Maplewood was simple but fulfilling. Sarah, a librarian with a gentle demeanor, and Tom, a carpenter known for his steady hands, had raised Molly to love the outdoors, often hiking the trails that wound through the nearby forest. Cole's arrival had brought a new kind of joy to their home, especially for Molly, who saw him as her confidant and companion. That night, while the household slept, Molly lay awake, her eyes fixed on Cole. Lately, she'd noticed something odd. After dusk, especially under a full moon, Cole grew restless. He'd perch on the windowsill, staring into the forest with an unfamiliar yearning. His soft paws would twitch, as if drawn by an invisible force. Molly, attuned to his every mood, felt a knot of worry in her chest. She remembered the stories her father told of the wild creatures that roamed the park: bears, wolves, and bobcats, and wondered if the forest was calling to Cole in ways she couldn't understand. Tonight, as the moonlight peaked, Cole's ears shot up, his body tense. Molly, pretending to sleep, watched through narrowed eyes. The kitten padded to the slightly open window and let out an eerie sound, not his usual meow, but a strange, beckoning call that sent shivers down her spine. It was a sound too wild, too primal, for a house cat. Moments later, a massive shadow appeared on the sill. Molly stifled a gasp as she recognized a bobcat, its large head, tufted ears, and spotted coat unmistakable in the moonlight. Its eyes gleamed with a quiet intensity, locking onto Cole as if it knew him. To her shock, Cole showed no fear. Instead, he seemed to greet the wild creature, his tiny body relaxed, almost reverent. The bobcat studied Cole, then gently scooped him up by the scruff and vanished into the night. Molly leapt from bed, racing to the window. She caught a fleeting glimpse of the bobcat bounding toward the forest, Cole dangling safely in its jaws. Her heart raced with panic. Cole had been taken. She pressed her hands against the cold glass, her breath fogging the pain. The forest, dark and sprawling, seemed to swallow them whole, its shadows whispering secrets she couldn't decipher. Molly stood frozen, her mind racing. She considered waking her family but hesitated. Who would believe a bobcat had stolen their kitten? The idea sounded absurd, even to her. And even if they did believe her, could they find Cole before something terrible happened? The forest was vast, its trails winding and treacherous, home to creatures far more dangerous than a bobcat. She imagined Cole alone, his tiny form shivering in the cold, and her chest tightened with fear. That night, Molly barely slept, tormented by visions of Cole lost in the vast forest, or worse, becoming a meal for wild predators. She tossed in her bed, the moonlight casting eerie patterns on her walls, each one morphing into images of Cole in danger. By morning, her eyes were heavy with exhaustion, but she forced herself to act. She told her parents about Cole's disappearance, her voice trembling as she described the empty basket. They searched the house, calling his name, but found no trace. Sarah, Molly's mother, reassured her that cats often wandered off and returned when hungry, her tone calm but tinged with concern. Tom, her father, suggested making lost pet posters for the neighborhood, his practical nature taking over. The idea of a bobcat abducting Cole never crossed their minds. Molly helped her father design the posters, though her heart wasn't in it. She stapled them to telephone poles around Maplewood, each one bearing Cole's photo, a bright-eyed kitten with a white patch on his chest. Neighbors stopped to offer sympathy, sharing stories of their own lost pets, but none mentioned bobcats. The town buzzed with its usual autumn rhythm, children playing in leaf piles, the local diner serving warm cider, but for Molly, the world felt muted, as if Cole's absence had drained its color. A week passed with no sign of Cole. Molly trudged to school, her thoughts consumed by her missing kitten. Her friends noticed her distraction, but she brushed off their questions, unable to explain the strange truth she carried. She began leaving food and Cole's favorite toys, a jingle ball and a stuffed mouse, on the porch, hoping he'd return. But each morning, the dish sat untouched, save for a few curious ants. The toys lay abandoned, gathering dew. Molly's hope waned, replaced by a gnawing sense of loss that followed her like a shadow. On the 10th night, as Molly gazed at a photo of Cole from her recent birthday, his tiny face nestled against her cheek. A soft scratching sounded at her window. Her heart leapt. She flung the window open, and a black kitten bounded inside. "Cole!" she cried, scooping him up, her hands trembling with relief. But her joy faded as she noticed something off. This kitten looked almost identical to Cole's, same black fur, same wide chest patch, but its eyes held a wild, wary glint, unlike Cole's gentle gaze. She held the kitten at arm's length, studying it in the dim light of her room. Molly studied the kitten closely. Its movements were cautious, powerful, lacking Cole's playful clumsiness. When she petted its head, it tensed, ears alert, instead of nuzzling her hand. Its muscles felt taut, like coiled springs, and its gaze darted to every corner of the room. A chilling realization hit her. This wasn't Cole. This was a bobcat kitten, nearly identical in appearance but entirely wild in nature. Her stomach churned as she considered the impossible. Had the bobcat swapped her kitten for one of its own? Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Cole was living an extraordinary adventure. He awoke in a rocky den, nestled among 3 bobcat kittens, one of whom was his near twin with jet black fur. The mother bobcat, who had left her own black kitten at the Peterson home, treated Cole as one of her own, her amber eyes soft but vigilant. The den was a stark contrast to Molly's cozy home, damp stone walls, the scent of earth and pine, and the distant howls of nocturnal creatures. Cole, still soft from his pampered life, shivered in the chilly air, but the warmth of the other kittens offered some comfort. The bobcat family moved with a quiet grace that fascinated Cole. The mother, powerful yet gentle, led her kittens through the forest, teaching them to navigate its dangers. The other kittens, 2 spotted and 1 black, were agile and confident, their instincts honed by the wild. Cole, however, struggled to keep up. His first hunting lesson was a disaster. While the bobcat kitten stalked a mouse with instinctual skill, Cole froze, terrified, his domestic upbringing leaving him unprepared. When the mother bobcat offered him a dead mouse, he recoiled, only eating when hunger forced him. The mother watched him patiently, as if sensing he needed time. The other kittens, initially scornful of Cole's clumsiness, soon accepted him, perhaps sensing his determination. They nudged him playfully, encouraging him to join their games. One evening, the black kitten, Cole's lookalike, brought him an injured vole, dropping it at his paws as if to say, "Try again." Cole hesitated, then pounced awkwardly, earning a low purr from the mother. Slowly, he began to adapt, his senses sharpening with each passing day. He learned to move silently, detect scents on the wind, and awaken his dormant predatory instincts. Nights in the den were terrifying. No soft basket, no Molly, just the eerie sounds of the forest. Owls hooted, branches snapped, and the wind carried the distant growl of a bear. Cole curled tightly against the mother bobcat, her gentle licks offering a strange comfort. Yet, each night, he thought of Molly and home. Her laughter, her warm hands, the scent of her lavender shampoo, they haunted him. Would she find him? Did she know an imposter had taken his place? The forest, vast and unforgiving, felt like a world apart from the life he'd known. Back at the Peterson home, the first day with the new kitten, whom Molly secretly called Shadow, was full of revelations. The Petersons didn't notice the difference. Sarah remarked that Cole seemed more mature, his movements deliberate, while Tom thought he looked healthier, perhaps from hunting during his absence. Only Molly knew the truth. Shadow was no house cat. He rejected canned food, instead sneaking into the kitchen to devour raw meat thawing on the counter. His behavior grew wilder. He climbed to high perches like the fridge or ceiling beams, watching the room with a predator's stare. Toys became prey in intense hunting games, shredded within minutes. Molly watched Shadow closely, her heart torn between fascination and fear. She missed Cole's playful cuddles, but Shadow's wild energy intrigued her. She began documenting his behavior in a notebook, noting his preference for raw food, his nocturnal restlessness, and his uncanny strength. One afternoon, she caught him scaling the living room curtains, his claws leaving tiny tears in the fabric. When she tried to scold him, he met her gaze with a defiant stare, his eyes gleaming like twin moons. Molly shivered, realizing how little she understood this creature. One evening, as the family watched TV, Shadow pounced on a moth with startling speed and precision, pinning it to the floor before devouring it. "Wow, Cole's become a real hunter," Tom said, impressed, clapping his hands. Sarah agreed but looked uneasy, her brow furrowing. "He's so different since he came back." Molly stayed quiet, unsure if she should share her suspicions. Who would believe a wild bobcat was posing as their pet? She felt a pang of guilt for keeping the truth from her parents, but the story seemed too wild, too impossible to voice. Shadow's presence began to unsettle the household in subtle ways. The neighbor's dog, usually friendly, barked furiously when Shadow passed by the window. Sarah's prized ferns, knocked over during Shadow's nocturnal prowls, lay in heaps of soil on the floor. Molly's friends, who once loved playing with Cole, now hesitated to approach Shadow, sensing his unpredictable nature. Molly herself felt a growing distance from the kitten she'd hoped was Cole. Each night, she lay awake, wondering if Cole was safe, if he missed her as much as she missed him. 2 weeks later, Molly's suspicions solidified. Shadow's sharper claws, longer canines, and a faint scar behind his ear absent on Cole confirmed he wasn't her kitten. Brushing his fur, she found faint spots, a bobcat trait Cole never had. Determined to learn more, Molly dove into library books on local wildlife, her fingers smudged with ink as she turned page after page. She discovered that bobcats could have black offspring due to a rare mutation, easily mistaken for house cats. She also read that mother bobcats sometimes adopt similar-looking strays, driven by instinct to protect their young. Could the mother have taken Cole, mistaking him for her own? Molly tested her theory by placing raw beef beside Shadow's usual food. He ignored the cat food, devouring the meat with a low growl. "What's Cole doing?" Sarah asked, puzzled, peering over her glasses. "Trying new food," Molly replied, hiding her certainty that Shadow was a bobcat. She felt a mix of triumph and dread. Her theory was correct, but it meant Cole was still out there, living a life she could barely imagine. She spent hours sketching Cole's face in her notebook, each stroke a promise to bring him home. To confirm her theory, Molly emailed Dr. Elena Martinez, a wildlife biologist at Glacier National Park. She described Shadow's behavior without mentioning the swap, asking about house cats turning wild and bobcat families near Pine Street. To her surprise, Dr. Martinez replied within hours, suggesting a meeting. Her team was tracking a bobcat family near Molly's home, including a rare black kitten. Molly's heart raced as she read the email, her fingers trembling on the keyboard. Could this be the key to finding Cole? At the research station, Dr. Martinez showed Molly trail camera photos, her voice calm but excited. Among the bobcat family was Cole, his familiar wide chest patch unmistakable, following the group, cared for by the mother. "This is my Cole!" Molly exclaimed, tears welling in her eyes. Dr. Martinez hypothesized that the mother bobcat had swapped her black kitten for Cole, possibly to protect her cub in a safer environment. The biologist's eyes sparkled with curiosity, explaining how rare such behavior was. She proposed a plan: set a humane trap near Molly's house to lure the mother bobcat and Cole, allowing a natural reverse exchange. Molly returned home, her mind buzzing with hope and fear. Convincing her parents was tough. Tom was skeptical, and Sarah worried about the danger of luring a wild animal. But Dr. Martinez's photos and shadows examination revealing bobcat-like traits like elongated canines and tufted ears won them over. Tom, ever practical, helped build the trap, while Sarah researched bobcat behavior, her librarian instincts kicking in. Molly felt a surge of gratitude for her parents' trust, though she worried about the risks. What if the mother bobcat didn't come? What if Cole didn't want to return? On the next full moon, they set a 2-compartment trap in the backyard, baited with Cole's jingle ball, stuffed mouse, and a piece of his blanket. Its scent faded but still familiar. Molly's job was to place Shadow in one side while Cole, if he appeared, would enter the other. She sat by the trap, Shadow curled in her lap, his wild eyes scanning the darkness. The moonlight bathed Maplewood in a silver glow, the forest alive with rustling leaves and distant calls. Molly's heart pounded as she whispered Cole's name, willing him to return. As the moon rose higher, a shadow moved in the trees. Molly held her breath, clutching Shadow tightly. The mother bobcat emerged, her spotted coat blending with the night, Cole dangling gently in her jaws. His eyes met Molly's, and she saw a flicker of recognition. The night held the promise of a reunion, but also the challenge of setting things right for both families, human and wild. Molly steadied herself, ready to guide Shadow into the trap, her heart torn between the kitten in her arms and the one she'd lost. The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the moment that would bring Cole home.